Welcome to What She Does, the podcast that takes you inside the working lives of everyday women shaping the world around us. I'm Leanne Starr.
And I'm Annie Sinzinger. And each week, we sit down with someone who shows us not just what she does, but how and why she does it. Plus, find out if you fit the same mold to grab the same type of gig. Let's discover
What She Does, starting now.
After her own divorce left her navigating modern dating with 2 young kids, today's guest turned that experience into a career. She's a professional matchmaker and dating coach, founder of Jillin It, helping clients trade one disappointing date after another for real aligned partnerships, including 2 client weddings this year alone. Today, she's giving us an inside look at modern dating and what it actually takes to build a career as a matchmaker.
So our guest today is Jill Dunn from Jillin It, and she is a matchmaker. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, people usually do.
So how did you become a matchmaker?
Basically, I got divorced. That's the short answer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right. So I got divorced about 10 years ago. And at the time, my kids were 4 and 6
Oh,
and started to navigate the wild world of modern dating after being with my ex-husband for 12 years.
God.
And, obviously, when I got married, I had a different set of things I was looking for rather than the way that I was dating, emerging from a marriage with 2 young children. So, I always say I wish I had someone like me when I started navigating dating again after my divorce. So I, got on dating apps and things like that. But at the time, there was only one night a week that I didn't have my kids that I was available for dates. So I was looking for events and I couldn't find any near me. And my background is sort of in events. I used to host big beer festivals and other sort of large scale events. And so I said, well, there's no singles events around me. So I'm just going to have one, just host one and see what happens. So I put up an event in my hometown and it sold out.
Hmm.
And so many people were just so grateful for the opportunity because it really is genuinely so hard to find good quality singles. And, so then from there, I started hosting events in other towns, surrounding areas, and then eventually ended up, connecting, well, pretty quickly actually, ended up connecting singles that I was meeting from an event in one town with, a man that I met at another event. I'm like, oh, I think you might like this guy. And I would just,
Hmm.
can I exchange numbers for you? So that was my initial matchmaking. And then very quickly, I just became curious about people and what was connecting people and what was actually sticking. And so I would get a little bit more information like, well, do you want to have kids or is your religion important to you? Or what is it really important for you to align on? And then from there, it just started in a Google Doc. And now, obviously, 8 years later, it is a full service boutique matchmaking offering that has really evolved beyond what I ever could have thought it would. I've got 2 client weddings this year and another engagement that I just got the secret word on that's coming up. So it really works and it's amazing. But like I said, I mean, this all happened because I got divorced. I never in a million years would have thought when I grow up, I want to be a matchmaker, but I always have loved people and care about people feeling comfortable in a room. Like in high school, I got, the superlatives. I got voted big sister. I just care about people and making sure people are connected. And, so I think it makes sense if you know me, but that's how it started.
Now, I do have to ask, I don't think it probably happens a lot, but I'm thinking there are people who sit in front of you who decide they like you and would like to
Yeah.
date you. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate that? And what do you do if that happens?
Yeah. So that's part of the reason that I was single for so long after my divorce. I think you would think that being a professional matchmaker or even hosting dating events that, people would say to me all the time, "Oh, like, how could you possibly be single? You have so much opportunity." But to me, as soon as somebody comes into my world for my work, they're not on the table for me as an opportunity to or a consideration for me to date. So I put them in the client zone immediately. And
Mm.
even when I was on the dating apps, if I would match with somebody who I was interested in myself and they would sort of gather what I do and show any interest in it at all, as far as like, oh, if it could either be like door number one, let me date Jill, or door number two, infinite possibility. And if they're leaning at all towards door number two, I'm like, let's go to door number two. I am not right for everybody. And I feel honored to be the connector for a lot of people. We probably met so I can introduce you to your wife. Like, let's change
Mm.
gears. Let's get off the app and email me, hello@jillinit.com. And that happened a lot. And then certainly sometimes there were people at my events or people see me on online or something, and they'll send me a message like, I want to match with the matchmaker. And I'm like, no, 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 but thank you. You know, we're not doing that. Thanks though.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I
it's been sacrificial in a way, where I've met amazing men, but I'm like, sorry, you're in the client zone. We gotta let me see who I can set you up with.
and can you talk about, you also offer sort of a relationship coaching.
Sure. So more so dating coaching than relationship coaching. So, I do my part to get people connected and I stay, I'm the liaison in the very early stages. But once you're in a relationship, that's someone else's domain. I connect you with the right person, and how you manage the relationship
Mm.
is sort of out of my hands. But but the idea is that when people are really right for each other and fully aligned, is that they need less interference or structure in the end. And so the coaching part is huge. In addition to private matchmaking, I have a program called Be Your Own Matchmaker, where I
Mm.
help people set up dating app profiles, where I'm not providing them with matches, but I'm providing them with tools and ways to. And I just actually had another engagement from a client that was in my Be Your Own Matchmaker program
Mm.
that had literally never dated. He'd never been on a date. And so we just did some real basic. I met him at a coffee shop and we kind of like had a date, got to know each other a little bit. And from there, built his dating app profiles. And then he would send me screenshots and things along the way. Well, what do I say to her? I really want to meet her. And then so we would devise things that were in his words, in his terms, and just gave him the confidence, went out on a couple of dates. And then the third or fourth woman that he met, he ended up just recently getting engaged to. And
Wow.
so I help people navigate. Modern dating is very different than dating used to be. So I help people navigate, stay sane, and enjoy the process. To me, that's the biggest component is being able to, I always say like the juice is in the journey of dating. And I think there's no bad dates because it's all part of your process. As long as you can keep your head and your heart there, you will continue to learn, grow, evolve from the process. And then ultimately, when you meet the person who's really right for you, it will all make sense why the other ones didn't stick.
So I have to ask you, both Annie and I have been married a long time. How has dating changed and what happened?
Okay. So, well, I'm like, how long you got? So,
Oh my
so a lot of things have changed about dating in the sense that technology has interfered with
Mm.
the courting process, with romance in general, with the disillusionment that there is an infinite pool of people that we can special order from, you know, and
Mm.
that will meet all of these really unnecessary marks for us, right? So dating apps, for example, you can put in your criteria, your search criteria, as if you're searching for an item on Amazon. And so, it's like, and you want it rush delivered overnight, so everybody is of this like quick, fast swipe, swipe, swipe mindset. And it's not even their fault. It's just what has happened, the programming of just modern technology in general, but also the algorithms, they're showing you the prettiest and the tallest and the wealthiest. And then, those people obviously are in really high demand. So if you're not getting a response from them, then you're feeling less than. And, so it creates this breakdown of self-worth, of optimism in dating, of feeling like, you have a hopeful search that of course, people will contact me after, years or months or even weeks or days on a dating app, and they just say, like, "There's nobody out there for me. I've already looked in all the dating apps." I'm like, "That's absolutely not true. There's in what world is there not somebody that's going to love you? That is
Oh.
not true." And so it's just a matter of an intentional search and having someone to guide that search with you that can keep you sort of sane and preserve your heart space by presenting you with real opportunities for also really intentional and heartfelt people. And, people who I end up screening to match with my clients, these are amazing, open-hearted, caring, intentional singles that have also felt disheartened in one point or another. And so when I'm finally able to connect them, it's like, I just everybody feels better about the situation because they're not just searching this endless scope. And so I think there are also other things that have changed in modern dating, um, feminine and masculine roles in the country, right? Or in the world in general. But, you know, uh, there has been a shift, right? So a lot of women are very successful and they have prioritized their career
Mm.
and they are, don't need a man, right? But men need to be needed. Otherwise, what are they, right? They need to be able to feel like they have something to offer a woman. And so it has created this dynamic where men, and I don't want to speak for all men, but a lot of the men that I speak with, they don't even approach women anymore
Oh,
because they are afraid that they're going to offend them. A lot of women are insulted by being approached, and it's confusing for men, and so they say, "You know what? I don't wanna upset anybody. I'm just gonna not do it." And then so they take to online, and then, God forbid, this amazing, open-hearted, loving man who wants to start a family is 5'9" and not 6 feet, which has become the standard for
mm.
all women to aspire to be with a man that has grown to 6 feet tall, as if that will make a difference in how he will be a husband and a father. Will not. Like, spoiler alert, will not make a difference. But everybody, all the women are clamoring over these men that have grown the extra 2 or 3 inches. So it's like I said, how long you got? Because I can go on and on. So my goal is to just sort of bring at least the people that feel attracted to me and to my work, and which are, dozens of people every day come across my desk, and it's so beautiful because as soon as they do, these little light bulbs and Post-its go off in my head where I'm like, "Wait a minute, I just met somebody yesterday who could be right for you?" So I feel like in my own little small universe, I'm just calming people and helping them get back to a place where dating and feels manageable and feels exciting and feels like a self-exploration process and, ultimately feels hopeful and like will lead to the relationship that you're looking for. And for everybody, marriage and family is not the goal. I work with widows. I work with, you
Oh,
know, I have a couple that's been in a relationship for 2 years now that they were both divorced with teenage children for neither of them wanted to get married again, but they're very happy with their combined families and, so everybody is at different stages and it's really cool to see, how it all sort of comes together just with this, the me sort of smoothing over creating opportunities for people.
You talked about how, technology really changed, but COVID, I think, had a really big shift on
Huge.
dating, and particularly for younger people who really don't socialize now. What's your clientele sort of like? Is there an age range to your clientele right now? Do you see that, being an impact on younger clients that you might have?
Yes, COVID had a huge impact for people of all ages, You
Mm.
know, imagine as a single person, a lot of people ended up in COVID relationships, dating one person for too long or dating the wrong person during COVID just because you're in you
Oh,
already had started seeing this person and now you can only they're in your bubble and then you're there for the next 2 years. But aside from that, younger people who during those developmental years, say like 18, 25, where you're dating and finding out what works for you and getting your heart broken and men are approaching women in a bar. There was no approaching people, it was like, everybody stay away from me. So that changed that set of people so much that I don't think that they will ever be in a place where they feel comfortable. A lot of people, that especially ones that were very, very COVID conscious, that they'll ever recover fully from
mm,
that sort of alienation
Mhm.
in the sense that it never seems normal again to be, approached in that way, but mainly that they missed that time of sort of heartbreak and flumbering around, of, dating the wrong person, figuring out what worked and what didn't. Now, all of a sudden, they're in their early 30s or mid
mm.
30s and they missed that part, so that definitely changed, but not to say that then they can't end up in the right relationship, but it just is different, like I said before, women are not running men home like, "Yes, approach me," like they used to, and men are not feeling comfortable approaching, and so that means that fewer natural, people are meeting not really in the wild anymore. They're going to where
Yeah.
it's safe behind a screen, and then the volume is too much, and then everybody is suspicious and a scammer, and
Mm.
so it's messed up, It is messed up.
How do you get them connected, or feeling like they can get to that point of connecting with another person? Like,
Sure.
considering all these different factors right now.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people feel safer and more comfortable in my sort of bubble
Mm,
and feel safe knowing and reassured knowing that, first of all, everybody who clients and anybody who would be meeting a client, I run background checks, I verify their identity. I get to know my clients very well. We talk all the time. We have an intensive intake process. And from there, we're calibrating our search by introductions, so if somebody is going to have the opportunity to meet with one of my clients, I have a Zoom call with them. There's a set of questions I ask to just number one, vibe check, see if I think that their personalities will
mhm,
go well with my client. And then also make sure all the big things align. The deal breaker items, like whether or not you want to start a family, for a lot of people, religious or political
mm,
alignment are core values. And those are things that are really important to a lot of people. Geographical location, those big things we need to make sure they align. And then, like I said, the vibe check is huge. And then, so if I feel like somebody meets the vibe check, they pass essentially what I call the first date, which is the date with me, then I'll present them to my client and I'll say, you got to meet this amazing woman or this amazing man. I think she's aligned for this, and this reason. And the client ultimately has the choice whether to accept or decline the introduction. But usually the clients, and especially the clients that are successful and end up in a relationship by the time we're done working together, those are the ones that are, they're trusting my instinct. And that's why almost always by the time I'm done working with somebody over a 6-month program, they don't need me anymore because they're pursuing a new relationship. So
mm,
the trust is there because of that process and because it's intentional, and essentially for each client, I'm going on 25 first dates each month for a
Wow.
client, and that bakes down to them having one, maybe two introductions. So I'm not a dating service. I'm a matchmaker. I am looking for the right match for my clients, and so it's not a high volume search, the volume is on my side, And it really works. It's amazing how it works, but like I said, I think a large part of it is, how things end up people end up crossing my desk at the right time or crossing my mind or something reminds me of somebody, so
Mm.
as much as I rely on, I have a team that works with me, I have recruiters, and I have an assistant, I have a matchmaker on my team. This is a real machine that we have going, but as much as I rely on all of these, I also rely on my own instinct and my own memory and my own, little heart bits that piece people together in my head. So it is, I feel really honored to do this work. Obviously, you can tell that I love it, but it's amazing what happens, and I feel like the right people feel compelled to reach out to me, and then the other people, are that's great. They'll find their person another way.
So, what is the one piece of advice, if you just had to have one,
Okay.
that you would give people who are single right now? Because we've established that it's just a mess out there. It's
Yeah.
it's not it's not good, and
Yeah.
it's gotten worse. But what would you say to them?
Yeah. So I would say the number one piece of advice is, and I say this all the time, is just shoot your shot. Say yes. You know, it's agreeing to a date with somebody or approaching somebody in the wild or sending a message that you see somebody attractive on Instagram. It's not a lifetime commitment to this person. It's it's an opportunity
Mhm.
to not just, an opportunity to potentially be going on your last first date, but also it's an opportunity to expand, learn, grow, pick up something, put down something. So, as long as you can keep the mindset that it's not a waste, none of it is a waste. It's all important. The whole path is important. And as long as you can keep that mindset, then shooting your shot, asking someone out, or saying yes to a date to somebody you're not sure about, you don't have to be sure about somebody. And you know what? People will even say to me after they go on a first date, well, I'm not really sure if they're the right person for me. I'm like, well, good. How can you possibly be sure after
Mhm.
spending 2 hours with a stranger? That would be weird. You don't know them yet. So go out with them again. It's not a lifetime commitment. You're just having, the first date ends. The only thing you need to know is if you felt safe, comfortable, and intrigued enough to do it again. That's it. The first several dates, I think that's the goal.
Great.
I was wondering if somebody wants to go into this, like either it's their first career kind of path, or if they're looking to pivot into this kind of work. What do they need to know about what skills they need to have or education? What do they need to know to start?
So that's a good question. And there definitely are resources and there's, conferences. Like I'm a member of the Matchmakers Alliance, which is, 200 and something matchmakers from all over the world. And we have an annual conference in November.
Wow.
And it's amazing opportunity to collaborate, learn, grow together. We learn best practices, business models, ways to support our clients. So there certainly are professional resources for people who want to become a matchmaker. Number one, I think, well, I have a master's degree in elementary education. So
Mm.
never in a million years did I think, well, let me go to matchmaker school. I say I have a PhD, a PH divorced. That's how I, got my education, right? But and just from my own journey. And so I think for me, I think that's how people can relate to me because of my own experiences and navigating modern dating myself for many years and dating with young children. And so there's a lot of things that people can relate to me on, which makes me attractive to them. But there certainly are resources like the Global Love Institute has a matchmaker and dating coach certification program. But I think the and they have an annual conference too, which I go to every year, which is in New York City, which is amazing. And so there's so many resources for people. But I think more than an education where you're taking a course, it just has the biggest skill. Number one, you have to have a thick skin because
Mm.
as much as it is all about love and connection, there's a lot of heartbreak and disappointment. And I am I always say I work myself with 15 private clients at a time. And so I always say I'm on 15 emotional roller coasters at a time, 16 if you count mine. And, it's like, it's not easy. Dating is not easy. Relationships are not easy. So you have to be truly compassionate and be willing and able to ride that wave with your clients. There are so many, when you go to these matchmaker conferences, the first one I went to, I didn't know anybody. And I was pleasantly surprised that I'm like, "Oh, these are my people." It's just open-hearted, empathetic, you know, people that are willing to put their own hearts and, sanity on the line to navigate other people's dating lives for them. And so but also you have to have if you're going to go into business for yourself, you have to have also a business sense because there's 2 very distinct lanes in what I do. There's the servicing, the matchmaking, servicing the actual clients, but then there's also, the business development and the marketing and I have built it all myself. And so I love the business component just as much as I love the matchmaking, and they just bring me different sets of joy. So it works really well for me. And also it's flexible in the sense that I live alone with my kids, and so I've been able to still all along they're in high school now, but when they were younger, drive on all the field trips and still be the room mom and still, you know, do business development at night when they would go to sleep and still be able to, be at all their games and stuff during the day. And so it sounds very attractive, but I'll tell you it is not for the faint of heart. It is intense, intense work,
You
but it is
mentioned
beautiful.
you mentioned that, you're on, like, 16 different roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
How do you how do you deal with that emotional toll? How do you take care
Yeah.
of yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've gotten better with that over the last couple of years. One thing that I implemented was that I let everybody know before they even come on that I am unavailable on Sunday
Mm,
under all circumstances. And I just need that day for
mm,
myself to be fully present for my kids, to, just have uninterrupted peace. I do not allow myself to check my email, go online. I have a Sunday newsletter called Sunday Sparks that goes out every Sunday at 8 a.m., but I write it on Saturday. And so I don't even look at anything on Sunday. So that's one thing that helped a lot because it was just this never ending
Mm,
fountain. And I'm very grateful for the constant flow of people that are finding me, that are inquiring about my services, that want more information and all that. But I gotta close the hose once a week. And so that was huge. And also I think setting office hours, hiring an assistant several years ago made a huge difference
mm,
in not only in my capability for how I'm able to service clients, because she's able to do a lot of the, booking appointments, managing my calendar,
mhm,
sending out contracts, that kind of thing, and I can do the client facing stuff that I have to do that people are hiring me to
mhm,
do. I don't need to do the other stuff. So that was huge, created a lot of space and time and added some level of sanity to my day to day and got me organized and that kind of thing. But then, just in a personal life kind of way, I think hot yoga helps a lot because there's no way I could think about anything else besides like not dying when I'm in there. Yeah, for an hour, like 4 times a week, and so it's very helpful, because you're just trying to stay alive in
mhm.
there, so that helps. Hot yoga, time with my kids, gardening, that kinda thing.
wow.
That
Um,
is a lot.
and can you talk a little bit about I'm thinking of if I'm a matchmaker, what's have you learned along the way that you were able to apply to your own life? Because you started single, I guess.
Right. So, yeah, so I think it's been a very nice parallel track where there's things that I've learned from my own personal journey, a lot of which I put into my course called the 4-Day Flip, which is 4
Oh,
ways in 4 days to completely transform your dating life. I wish I downloaded that a week after I got divorced, but it didn't exist. Um, but if I could have, it would have been an absolute game changer for me, which is why I did it. So I think that, I learned a lot over the years from my personal experiences. And then of course, navigating other people's dating lives. Now, thousands of people over the last 8 years, learning from not only their experiences that I was navigating with them, but the experiences that they come to me with. And
Mhm.
ways that they have navigated it, extracting little nuggets that feel right for me. I am a lifetime learner. I am constantly evolving and listening. I always have these things in my ear with some sort of audible or podcast or something, learning relationship and just human dynamics in general fascinate me. And so I'm a sponge for it all. So I think there are so many, dating or relationship experts, and not all of them resonate with me, but I certainly extract the things that do resonate with me and that I find work well for clients and share them with clients and have used them myself. But I think the number one, if I had to pick one piece of advice, and I actually just wrote about this on Sunday for in my newsletter, is that navigating early, stage dating when you're just sort of meeting someone, and this is especially applies to someone who's dating after a divorce. So you're in a marriage and you have a certain set of expectations for your husband or wife, right? And then all of a sudden you are going on first dates with somebody. And I found when I started going on first dates with somebody, initially I was excited. And then after some time, I'm like, these men are all extremely disappointing. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. I'm like, why are they seemingly great guy? Why am I so disappointed by them? And then I had this aha moment and I realized they're disappointing me because I have husband expectations for this man
Mm.
who is not my husband. And, of course, I'm going to be disappointed that, he's not showing up for me in a way that a partner, that a life partner should. And so that may seem obvious, but it is not. So just sort of dissecting what actually your expectations should be in early dating. And
Mm.
so that way it continues to keep you in. Of course, you should have standards and expectations, but they're very different than the expectations that you have for a life partner, right? So extracting that, and again, that's why it's so helpful to be navigating dating alongside a coach or a matchmaker who can help you sort of reality check and just constantly, bump you back into reality. Like this man is not going to, do all take all of these things off your list or provide for you in the way that you need to. He's a stranger, and that's okay. So though, those are some of the things that I learned along the way. But I mean, a million things. I could go on and on.
I think our last question is something we ask everyone, which is knowing all that you know now about your role or your business, what would you tell your younger self?
My younger self. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's a good question. Okay. So, although I can wholeheartedly say that I wouldn't change my path for anything, um, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. My kids are my soulmates. They are the exact kids I was supposed to have. My ex husband and I are great friends. We were not supposed to be married for a lifetime. And our divorce ultimately led me to this work, which I feel like truly is my life's work. So I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But talking to my younger self, I think a huge lesson that I would give to her is that you are worth waiting for the right man for. I had this unworthiness problem where I was with my ex-husband for several years and it just seemed like we should get married because we'd already been together this many years. And why would I start over with somebody else if I've already invested these years? And again, wouldn't change the path of it at all. He's a great guy, all good. But when it comes to my daughter, if she's navigating the same thing, it's going to be like, girl, no, we are not. choosing to have a lifetime with somebody just because we've already had 3 years. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
It's like you just think that there is you don't realize how vast and long the future is, hopefully, if you're lucky, and how much opportunity you have and how worthy you are of true love and amazing aligned partnership that is available to you if you do not invest your life with the wrong person. Like, hold out for it. That is what I would tell her. Just wait for it because it's coming. And again, this is my path. I'm all good. But that is certainly something that my kids will be hearing from me on repeat until they choose the right partner. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I do love that too. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you so much for talking this today, Jill. I feel like we've learned a lot, not just about matchmaking, but how terrible the dating scene is. But thank you.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, though. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be. Get in
we
touch
all
with
need
me.
a matchmaker.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
thank you so
Yep.
much, Jill.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
Jill.
having me. Nice talking to you, ladies.
Do you think back in the day you would have potentially used a professional matchmaker?
I was kind of desperate at the time.
What?
Um, well, I was like, tick, tick, tick. I was 31.
Really?
A little desperate. Yeah. I don't think I would have used a professional matchmaker, but um,
Because we did it at a time. Well, professional matchmakers has been around for a long, long time. Lots of cultures have them. But there were different methods before all this digital stuff. So if we consider like what it was like before, it was like either you met somebody just by chance through friends,
right.
you did some meetups, you did personal ads. I mean, this is like way beyond like which general population would do. But then come digital apps and everybody's like getting on those. Like if you're not already married, everybody's like getting on those to try to meet people. And
Yeah.
that was
And
like kind of
everybody
sketch.
looking left. They're like, you're not cute enough. You're not tall enough. You're not whatever enough. And it's like you rule out a lot of people who might be interesting, who might be good conversationalists and might be engaging if you met them. And uh, it's not great. It's like, I think it's encouraging to have a matchmaker.
I think these days it's actually interesting to have one because I found a statistic that 80% there's a higher rate of result. It's like 80%
Mm,
if you use a matchmaker.
yeah.
And then if you use the dating apps, your results are somewhere like 12 to 15%.
Whoa. Okay.
So all these apps that everybody like, and I can't really say anything bad because honestly, I met my husband through an app. And it was just by chance, really. I think it's more like the universe sort of like, you know, telling me it's time because mine was like much late. I was much later than most people. I mean, I didn't get married until my 40s.
Right.
So in some respects, it's sort of like I think there's something to be said about using somebody who can also help coach you.
Yeah.
I mean, because these days it's a lot harder to meet somebody.
Yeah, and somebody who hopefully has a little bit of psychology experience, counseling experience. They have a bachelor's degree, hopefully. Not that required, but
No, it's not required, but I think it's kind of important for the person to like have good emotional intelligence,
yeah.
somebody who can identify details about and very observant
Mm,
because when you're having to match somebody, you have to be able to identify certain qualities that
mhm,
might serve as good bridges for
right.
people when they meet, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are really important qualities. Um, the matchmaking business is actually on the rise.
Yeah. and you can make okay money, potentially really good money. I think it depends.
I think it really does depend. I think it depends on what market you're in. I did find it interesting that Jill did talk about that, there's probably more men looking out for these services than
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, because women have realized, oh, I don't need a man. This is okay.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because it's uh there's like if it's like a boutique style kind of concierge service, and I think concierge services are like really big deal now,
Mhm.
especially among people who are affluent. It's like, I don't have time for this. I need somebody to take care of this for me. Here, I'll pay you a fee. Go find me my match. And there's actually a 58% increase in demand from affluent men.
I
So they're looking for wives,
uh, uh,
which is strange because
yeah.
I don't know that. Is it just you want a wife or do you want a family? Because people are not having kids. So is it really just about companionship too? I don't know.
Hopefully it's about companionship. Oh my God. Hopefully they're not just looking for a live-in maid.
But
Uh,
I don't know. I mean, you don't no one really knows, but let's hope so.
God. Well, yeah. This could go dark really fast.
Ultimately, making a good living at this is possible.
Yeah.
The types of places you might work, though, are like elite luxury agencies. They have national dating networks that you can work through. Like It's Just Lunch, I think, was one
Yeah.
place. And I used to see their advertisements in
Yeah.
yeah, the flight magazines. Did you
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
those?
And I
And
love that
then
Vogue magazine. They always have that.
some people are self-employed, like Jill.
Yeah.
And then the things that I think people really have to consider, though, if they're interested in a job like this, is their irregular hours. It could be high stress execution, because you have to make sure you match people properly.
Yeah, and one of the things that we didn't ask, which now I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe we should have." Like, what do you do when you get somebody in to your service who's really gross and weird? Like, what do you do? And so
How do you handle that
yeah,
situation? I
what do
think
I
with
do with you?
grace and composure.
Well, yeah, but, like, do you say, "Sorry, my service is not for you?" I mean, like
Well, she did say, I remember during the interview, right? She did say that she would meet some of these gentlemen,
yeah,
and some of them she was thinking, oh, uh, would I like, are they for me or would they make better clients?
right.
Kind of thing. So I think for her, she'd probably be able to like steer them to the right person.
Yeah,
She also spoke about the fact that that within the industry, people like, make referrals all the time
yeah.
because maybe they're not the right person. Maybe they have a different person that might work with them. So that part I thought was great. The camaraderie that might happen within that industry. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, maybe there's a matchmaker out there who just specializes in in weirdos.
Maybe, but, I do believe, and or I'd like to believe that there's somebody for everyone
There's a
out
pot
there.
for every or there's a lid for
There's a
every pot.
lid for every pot.
Uh, so some pots are just better by themselves, I think, but that's just
Well, maybe it just works out that way, but you wanna think that everybody needs, companionship, because we shouldn't be alone in this world, so with that note, I would hope that if anybody's interested in becoming a matchmaker, they could certainly find potential success doing it if they're the right fit. Thanks for joining us today. That's what she does, and maybe what you could do too. If you like what you heard, make sure you follow What She Does wherever you get your